Welcome to the world of future sport.
Hi, I'm Vic Braden, and this is a special edition of Future Sport. We have a panel today, people who have spent their lives helping you improve your body and your athletic performance. Let's meet them.
I'm Dr. Barry Unger. I practice internal medicine and cardiology in Los Angeles, California.
I'm Dr. Charlie Kunzelman, and I have my degree in exercise physiology with a special emphasis in sport nutrition.
I'm Dr. Mark Lagome. I'm an orthopedic surgeon practicing in Mission Viejo in Laguna Hills, California.
I'm Dr. Arnold Starr. I'm a professor of neurology at the University of California at Irvine.
And our own resident genius, Dr. Gideon ARIEL.
Hello, Vic.
We've all gathered to discuss how science is related to the future of sport. Welcome back to Future Sport, and let the discussion begin.
Gideon, recently Al Order, Olympic discus thrower, threw one of his best performances ever, yet he's 45 years of age. Is this not surprising to you?
Well, it's really not a surprise for me. It probably will be a surprise to almost everyone that's over 45 years old. But here is a person that kept himself in shape. He's training on a daily basis. He has a fantastic nutritional makeup. He's well developed. Neuromuscularly, probably is a genetic freak. So here is a person that can throw over 70 meters at the age of 45. And I think he will be on our Olympic team in 1984, which tell us something that chronological age and biological age don't follow each other exactly in the same time.
But Gideon, does that mean, it's got to end somewhere, buddy? I mean, 85 years old, throwing a discus out of the county?
Well, of course there is a limitation, basically a genetic limitation. The question is where the genetic makeup reach an optimum. Is it age 20, 30, 40? I think that we used to think that after the age of 35 it's all downhill. In my estimation, it's probably close to 50, because we're finding out also in the Soviet Union that many Russians now breaking world record at the age of 48, 49. We have few Americans that return after long time retirements, and they're performing the best at the age of late 40s. So there is a limit there, and I think the limit is someplace in the 50s.
Dr. Starr, maybe the body can do certain things, but what happens to the brain?
The brain actually is controlling the body, so that what the body does, it reflects the brain's function. And what we know about is that for some simple kinds of behaviors, motor behaviors like reaction time, that does slow down as you get older. But the kind of movement that Al Order must undergo to throw a discus must be a very, very complex performance. And what you're telling me is that the brain continues to learn and continues to improve on these complex behaviors.
You're right, Arnie. It is a complex movement, but sure, more and more executives are being involved in sport at a later age, starting at a later age. What kind of results?
And I know they're the same kind of thing that Ken was talking about. Ken Cooper always has a Tyler run every year in which people go out and they run a 2-mile race. And every year he asks these men, how many perform better than the year before? And these men are in their 30s, late 30s, 40s, or even in their 50s. And inevitably, 80 to 90% of those men raise their hands and say they ran a better time this year than the previous year. So it seems you're getting older, you might be getting better.
That may seem so on the basis of time, but there is a problem we have with physiologic aging as well. As we do age, joint flexibility significantly decreases, strength in the muscles decrease, and I think we're running into a problem there where older people suddenly become imbued with this athletic spirit, and they want to hurry up and catch up with all the years that they've been relatively inactive, and this is a problem.
Obviously, if you want to protect the anatomy for many years, you will have probably good bones and good cartilage, and the tissue will be pretty good, but your heart is going to die on you. If you try to run the 20 miles at the age of 50, obviously you are putting quite a bit of load on your anatomy. You will have a great heart, but you might have to be in a wheelchair at the age of 55. So I think there is a balance in life, and it depends. You have to play it in a very smart way, so you don't overemphasize one thing and forget about the other thing, like anything else. Do everything at the right amount, at the right age, at the right time.
Well, I can help out a little bit. With respect to any given individual at any given time, a lot of these things can be tested through stress testing. Basically, these are exercise testing where you not only look for the efficiency of the heart, what the heart can do performance-wise, But you look for any type of pathological changes that could give quite terrible, serious side effects, heart attacks, death. Once we get a person's optimal, we can calculate what's an efficient type of exercise, at what rate, and what level of performance.
I follow a very simple rule. I say, exercise as much as you sit near the table and eat a day. So if you eat 1 minute a day, just exercise 1 minute a day. But if you eat for 3 hours, exercise for 3 hours. Well, I don't try to tell you, Vic, that you should exercise for 15 hours, but, but I think that if we count how much we input and how much we output, and this is, Charlie, your area, I think we'll be in a quite balance. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so, and I think all too often we just think in terms of the amount of calories we take in instead of thinking in terms of the number of calories that we expend through physical activity. And of course, over the years, we've expended fewer and fewer as we become more and more automated and dependent on these kinds of devices, so that today the average male may be only burning off 2,200 calories. An athlete will be burning off 4,000, or an Olympic athlete, 5,000, 6,000 calories. And so they can consume larger amounts. But as we become sedentary, then we have to compromise and starting to do exactly what you said. You know, you've got to have this bank kind of thing, this bank account. So many calories in, so many calories out, and you want it to be zero at the end of the day, or a deficit so you actually lose weight and fat.
Motivation's got to play a major role in everything that we're talking about. All the sophisticated equipment is not going to be any good if we don't have motivation. Now, the reason I bring this up is I look at all you guys. You're all really slick. You're all kind of on the periphery of sports maybe, but no, you're in there pretty heavily. But Gideon and I are spending our life in sports, and we're the only two heavy guys, fat guys, in this whole group.
Obviously, you get your rewards from eating more than you get from your athletic performances, so that you gain weight. And I think the motivation is true for all of the people that we see as physicians. If they're not motivated in the direction that we'd like them to go, they're not going to perform that way.
Thank you, Dr. Starr. Well, Future Sport continues right after this. Welcome back to Future Sport. Our next question comes from Dr. Mark Lagome.
Gideon, speaking of nutrition and noting that you may be slightly heavier than the rest of us, don't you feel that there's some body type specificity where certain types of individuals are more, let's say, efficient at performing certain types of sporting activities than others?
The tremendous controversy about fiber types. Some people said, well, this person was born with the fast twitch fibers. Another way to say it, with fast muscles, and another people with slow muscles. And today even, some physiologists claim that they can take a piece of muscle at the side of the leg here and analyze it and say, well, this kid can be a sprinter, and another kid will be a long-distance runner. I think it's oversimplification. These studies came from Sweden. I call it the Swedish connection. And I think that the brain on the top, this big computer that Dr. Starr is so familiar with, will show us that it's not such a simple answer to complicated questions. What do you think?
Well, you know, the two types of fibers, the fast and the slow fibers, they can change their proportion depending upon how the muscle is used. It's been shown experimentally. And since the kinds of athletic activities we're engaged in are really determined by us, by our selection and our choice, and then how we use our brains, I think we can...
She's playing with other little kids who are 5, and the other little kids are saying, look, Mommy, I could hit the ball. She's saying, I think I can handle your case. She's all ready to go on the tour. Now, other little kids are just waving their mommy because they hit one. Now, maybe what we're finding is that some kids at a very early age have developed whatever needs to be developed in the brain to promote this, but other kids became world champions who didn't even start until they're 11 or 12, or who fell down on the ground. I had a couple of youngsters who really would just walk and fall when they were 10 and 11 years old, and who became professional tennis players. So I think the growth and development schedules are very different. But what's of great interest to me is maybe what would happen, just theoretically, if we took youngsters who fell, forced them into a different kind of mode, and had them do very intricate things. Could they then send messages to the brain so the brain would formulate something and then send some messages back to the body? Maybe the body mechanism's training the brain rather than brain training the mechanism.
But I'd like to now jump from children to adults, if I can, and ask Barry Unger a question. You talked about the heart and about how you could tell whether there were diseases and whether people should do exercises or not. Can these kinds of exercises actually improve cardiac function?
By exercising, you'll increase the efficiency of the heart, which indirectly will increase the quality of your life. You'll be able to do much more with less symptoms of chest pain, shortness of breath, or the other classical symptoms associated with heart disease. But also indirectly, you also reduce other risk factors. Charlie could probably tell us more about this, but these are things like lowering total cholesterol levels, elevating what's called high-density lipoprotein cholesterol, which seems to reduce heart attacks, lowering triglyceride levels and lowering blood sugar levels, all this by exercising.
Barry, when you talk about cholesterol and triglycerides, which are blood lipids, our body responds in a different way to the exercise. For example, if you're involved in a walking or a running or a swimming or a bicycling program, you do this for 30, 40 minutes, your triglyceride level will drop immediately. But the cholesterol doesn't change that fast. And in fact, most of the research which has been done, people will say, well, exercise has no influence on cholesterol because the study over a 2 to 6 month period of time shows no change. But when you look at the change over a lifetime, or 15 or 20 years, then you find that while the cholesterol of a fit person increases, it doesn't increase nearly as much as the person who's less fit. So exercise seems to play a very positive role in reducing this particular risk factor in terms of heart disease. But there's another piece to this puzzle as well, and our cholesterol is transported throughout the body by lipoprotein, which is a fat protein molecule. And people use this explanation as an illustration. The bad guy is really the low-density lipoprotein, and when the cholesterol is fastened to this, it's in an unstable condition, and it's usually here which it can be deposited on the lining of the arteries. But the high-density lipoprotein is the good guy, and this is the kind of molecule which will help to pick up the cholesterol and help for excretion from the body. And so what we're looking for is to have people have a high amount of high-density lipoproteins and a low amount of low-density lipoproteins. And one of the most fascinating things is that bona fide aerobic exercise 3 times a week, 4 times a week, will increase the HDLs within a matter of 12 weeks or so.
But you know, Charlie, when Bill Koch did a study back in Boston, and he was trying to find out where he could get that low density, and he found out, he said, look, I got to find the people who have got the cleanest vessels in the world. Now, he found them in the drunk tank in Boston, and they had, unbelievable, they had 12-year-old vessels. They had no livers. They were all dying from liver problems, but at the same time, they had very clean vessels. So he even got onto the tact of everybody having 1 drink a night.
Yeah, I think there is some research to show that very definitely, that 1 alcoholic beverage a day or even 2 will probably have a positive effect on increasing HDLs. The problem is if you start consuming too much alcohol, as you said, the liver becomes shot, and then you've got another problem, which is going to even be more catastrophic than the heart disease.
Are you saying then that for the average non-athlete, instead of going out and jogging a couple of miles a day, he can gain the benefits of athletic competition or athletic participation by having a couple of drinks at night?
No, I don't think so. I think this comes back to what Gideon said earlier in terms of these trade-offs and options. I think the trade-off is that if you're going to consume alcohol, you may have some problems with cirrhosis of the liver. But the exercise is such a positive kind of thing, which Barry was talking about, in which it not only helps to reduce these risk factors, but you start feeling good about yourself, and you improve your ego, and you feel good about the fact that, hey, I ran 3 miles today, but when you start saying I drank 12 beers, it sort of depresses you.
Right, Mark. Yeah, I think we should protect Bill Koch on this. He was showing a bunch of the little ingredients, and his basic theme was maybe a cocktail at night's not so bad. People shouldn't feel badly about it, but simultaneously exercise and other ingredients will have to be there in order to be successful. We'll be right back. We know a little bit about the history of sport, but what's in the future? Let's start with you, Dr. Unger. I want to hear what's going to happen 10 years from today.
We'll find out what points risk factors become increased, what points people are more susceptible to myocardial infarctions, and what points short of this will they be able to enhance their endurance.
Thanks, Barry. Let's go to Dr. Mark Lagome, orthopedic surgeon.
Vic, I think one of the main emphasis in orthopedics is going to be the prevention of injuries. As we get into athletic medicine more and more and analyze injuries and analyze how they occur, I think orthopedics is going to be very important in the prevention of these injuries and also alteration of sporting equipment to make sport much more safe than it has been in the past. I think that's going to be the big arena for orthopedic surgery. Obviously, the human body isn't going to change physiologically, but as far as biomechanical improvements, I think these are the areas that orthopedics and the biophysiologist is going to help out quite a bit.
Well, the body may not change, but what we put in the body may change an awful lot. This is Dr. Charlie Kunzelman, our nutritionist.
In the area of nutrition, I think there are several things that we're going to see. Number one, I think they're going to start to look at people as individuals rather than talking about a collective kind of response to food that everybody takes in recommended daily allowances. I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on you as an individual. I think we're going to look at, our athletes are going to have analysis of their vitamin content or their mineral content to make sure that they are getting adequate nutrition. I think there's going to be an emphasis, which is already occurring, on people being concerned about their percentage of body fat and lean body tissue rather than just general body weight, that type of thing. And I think there'll be an improvement of diets for athletes in general. I think there has been an improvement over the past couple of years, but there's still a lot of old ideas which still are bandied around, such as the protein myth and that kind of thing. And I think there's going to be more of this direction of emphasizing the carbohydrate loading aspect of nutrition and so forth. So there's a lot of things that I think will be going on, but I think it's going to come back to this crucial issue of the individual and how he is handling the types of foods that he may be eating.
Well, that's some idea about what's going inside the body. Let's talk a little bit about the brain. Our neurologist, Dr. Arnie Starr.
Well, I hope in the next 10 years we'll learn more about what goes into the actual performance of these athletic skills. What is actually going on when someone jumps or when someone hits a tennis ball, because with that information we'll be able to devise better training strategies. Right now our training strategies are probably half myth and half accurate. And then I think the more important thing for me as a neurologist and a physician is if we learn more about what goes into normal movements and what goes into actually the development of skilled movements, we can probably help the rehabilitation of a large number of patients who have disorders of the motor system. For instance, patients who are paralyzed following a stroke, and you try to teach them how to use their limbs again. If we know something about what goes into normal movements, we'll be able to train them more effectively so they can become proficient.
From the neurologist to the biomechanist, Gideon Ariel.
Well, Vic, I see a tremendous advance in technology that will use the body as a model that will consider the heart, the prevention of injury, the nutrition, and the brain into an absolute or optimal model, so the coach of the future will be able to plug in all these variables and to know where is the deficiency. Is it a nutritional deficiency? Is it an injury deficiency? Is it a heart deficiency? Is it a neuromuscular deficiency? By having a model and using a modern technology, we'll be able to optimize the performance of our future athletes.
Gideon, I hear you talk so often about people being a gold medalist in their own body. Well, as a psychologist, what I'm hoping in the next 10 years is that all of these people who are doing research in their basements in the universities get together in an interdisciplinary approach to this thing so we can gather good data. But what I like to see in the next 10 years, and I think it's going to happen, is people are going to be fed very good information. The 200 million people in this country, 260 million people, and then we are going to find entry points for these people so they have much more fun and they discover the value of sports and athletics. And I think that what else could we ask for? Because now when we have athletic contests, people are not going to just be spectators. They're going to be participants, and everybody's going to have a tremendous opportunity, I think, in sports because of people who are sitting here and people like these people who are doing the research. Gentlemen, I hate to say it, but the time has slipped under the door far too quickly for me. I could go on like this for hours and hours. We have to go. For Dr. Barry Unger, Dr. Mark Lagome, Dr. Charlie Kunzelman, Dr. Gideon Ariel, and Dr. Arnie Starr, I'm Vic Braden for Future Sports. See you next time.